Yeah, I want to talk about a guy I met in the Feds. His name was Antonio White. Everybody called him DC Tone. And I had an opportunity to meet him in Leavenworth in 1994 or 95. While I had been in the Feds since 92, I think they let the brothers in from Lawton in 94 or 95, I'm not for sure. This was one of the few times that I met some DC guys. Because first I started off in Terry Hut, then I went to Atlanta, and then I moved to Leavenworth, which I had come across a guy named Antonio White, which they call him DC Tone. But I had met a lot of guys from DC, Coleman Bay, Price Bay, Go-Go, a bunch of guys, Little Man, a lot of guys from DC there. And I know before that, we had a little altercation before I got there with the DC guys. But I came to know this guy named DC Tone, which is Antonio White. I used to talk to Tone about a guy named Rayford that from DC, and Tone knew that I was a friend of Melvin Butler's. So Tone would always ask me about the old days when I seen Rayford in Los Angeles, Peanut, Amigo, and a lot of the guys that was at Eminem's restaurant. And I used to see that Rayford had gave Melvin Butler 560 beans, and I used to see Peanut and a few of the guys with the Maryland plates on the cars, and they used to be in the Eminem's place called Eminem, famous restaurant that Ice Cube talked about in his song Neck Bones and M&M's. But while I met this guy Tone, man, he was like a different kind of guy, man. He was a young guy, and he had a certain kind of walk. And I always noticed Tone because he was a real kind of different DC guy. But I used to always tell D-Tone about the times when Melvin Butler went to DC and he came back, he cut his jerry curl off, and he started talking about the dance called the Go-Go. And he used to wear his pants was kind of baggy with t-shirts, and he put waves in his hair. And I always kind of like been around Melvin. And when I seen him transition to Los Angeles to DC, and he had a different kind of style that he dressed like. And Tone used to always ask me questions about Rayford. I remember Rayford vividly in playing basketball in the Drew League with Melvin. And Rayford used to come to town, and they used to go up to Drew, and they used to play basketball, and they used to look at Melvin's cars, and he had a homie named King Rum Rum. He had a 82 Cadillac, front and back, side to side, and he showed Rayford and them how the hydraulics worked back in those days. But I ended up really becoming friends with Tone because one day we was in the gym and two guys was getting into it, and Tone was one of the main guys from DC that if anything go down, he was one of their soldiers, and and I was one of the soldiers for the LA guys. But at the same time, you wanted to have a relationship with guys that that was a force in other organizations, a force in different cities, because we was all into the city thing back then, but we all became pretty kind of close. But this guy Tone, man, we end up leaving. I end up leaving Leavenworth, and I end up in I went from Leavenworth, I went to Lompoc, then I went to Atwater, then I went to Pollock, then Atwater. And while in Atwater, I ran into Tone again. And this time, Tone had really been working on his body and things like that. And Tone was a real soldier for the DC guys. There was a lot of guys up there like Mario, Wild Out was from Baltimore. I knew Twin from DC. I knew Jerry. I knew boy out of Baltimore, Mook. I know a lot of those guys, man. And we was all kind of cool. And at the same time, we had kind of like a little rival thing going on, but we all kind of like stuck together on blackness. But to talk about Tone, man, he ended up being in my unit. It was me, Mario Wild Out, Titus, and a few other guys that was in the same unit I was in. And I had an opportunity to really understand the philosophy that Tone had. One day I asked Tone, I say, Tone, man, where did you get that six-pack at like that? He said, man, I read a book about Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee told me, book said that the core of your stomach is where your strength is. And I always try to work on my stomach, always trying to get my stomach like Tone's, but it's hard to do, man. He had a six-pack out of his world. And not only that, he had a six-pack out of his world, he had a routine, a workout routine that was out of this world. But to make a long story short, one day these white boys, they came into the unit, and they was looking for a guy that had disrespected the white guys. I think they was maybe like Aryan Brotherhoods or something like that, or one of those big organizations that, you know, the white structure. And we went upstairs, and a lot of guys, they kind of like, they was like, man, that's a DC thing, man. I'm like, nah, man, you don't know, man. This guy right here, man, he's the real deal, and I'm going with him. So we go up to the stairs and stuff, and one guy say, hey, man, Tone, won't you try to apologize for what happened? Tone say, nah, we ain't doing that, my man. The thing is, man, we finna go up here and see these guys about their business. You know, I had the life sentence and everything, and I say, man, you know, I'm gonna ride with Tone, you know, through thick and thin, man, because, you know, we have been doing time together. So we went up the stairs, man, and dude come out the cell, and he's like, hey, man, you been disrespecting the people and everything. Tone standing right there. We was all like soldiers. And the guy say, man, listen, man, I think you got the wrong idea of what's going on up in this cell, man. You know, I ain't disrespect nobody, man. This is where I live at. And the white boy was like, well, you know what I'm saying? My people told me that you've been disrespectful around here. Tone said, listen here, man. If your people told you that, man, and my man right here is standing on his word, man, you know it is what it is. And I'm like, everybody kind of like froze. And Tone said, yeah, man, it is what it is. And the white boy was like, well, you know, Tone, man, you know, we really like they settled it right there like two men, and then we went downstairs, and the one guy was like, man, why you didn't apologize? Man, we ain't got to apologize, nothing, man. When the dude, oh boy, he stood on his word. And if a man stand on his word, it's his word. And as we was, after that day, Tone had a workout crew. It was a bunch of his guys, and there was a dude named New. New was from Chicago. So New used to always talk about how militant Tone was in his workout. So New would come back from workout, and he would say, hey, man, I don't know, man. I don't think I'm going back out tomorrow, man. You know, dude when we was doing line push-ups, man, and dude didn't do, you know, the push-up. We had to start all over again, man. And hey, man, Tone on some way other stuff. When I say, man, I say, boy, I'm glad I ate that routine with Tone. But, you know, to make a guy like Tone, man, he's a special guy. And I had the opportunity to meet his mom one time in the visit room in Leavenworth, and I had an opportunity to meet his little sister. And I know Tone always had a daughter that he was real crazy about in his baby mama. But actually, when I got the life sentence off, and I was wondering where Tone was at, but I didn't know Tone was out. So one day I asked this guy named Weez, I said, hey, Weez, do you think you can get in contact with Tone? Because it was a few guys up there that was from DC, Black, another Weezy, a few other guys, and they was like, man, we can't get in contact with him. So a guy named Weezy come from Big Sandy. He said, hey, man, I know some guys that know Tone, man. I think I can get the number for you. So I said, man, get that number for me, man. I need to talk to Tone because, you know, I got a date now. So, man, I got the number, and I called Tone, and Tone was like, man, I've been looking for you, man. He said, man, I heard you got the life off. I said, yeah, Tone, I got like about 30, 40, 45 days left. He said, man, that's blessing, man. You know what I'm saying? He said, Fish, you always been into the Lord and stuff like that, man. And he said, you still honor your sweats? I said, no, man, I ain't honoring my sweats no more, man. I gave all that stuff away. He said, yeah, man, but I'm waiting for you to come. He said, Marquis is living in California in the suburbs and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, man, I had went down there to see Mark in LA, and I seen a few of the guys, you know, from LA, man. It was really a beautiful thing. And he said, Fish, I'm waiting for you to get out, man. And when you get out, you make sure you call me, because I'm gonna come down there to Texas to see you, man. And you be blessed, man. I'll say, Tony, I got your number, and I'm gonna call what's his name? Larry Moe. I say, Larry Moe, I need you to tell Tone, man, I haven't talked to him in a minute, but you know, Larry Moe is a good friend of mine. I met him through Stein, and this is what dudes from DC.